What is going on, everybody? It is Luke, and today is going to be episode 1 of my VA mini-series. Now, I obviously brought out a mini-series previously, and that will be something that I'll be doing over the next, rest of the year, for example. Looking to bring out some mini-series for everybody, just so that everything's a little bit easier to navigate, because doing ad hoc random videos is great for the topic, but it can get a bit confusing when you're looking to go back and sort of focus on something. So what I'm going to be actually starting with in this VA mini-series is deal VAs versus admin VAs. So deal as in sourcing VAs, but they source you goods for Amazon on arbitrage or whatever your, however you, or maybe it's wholesale or something, against admin VAs, which are going to be doing a lot more of your admin work so that it takes the burden off you, which in theory could allow you to have more time to source deals. So you still accomplishing all the tasks, but you're just playing it slightly differently. And I'm going to be going over, talk about my, over the next couple of, not all today, but over the next couple of episodes, I'll talk about my current VAs, what I do, and I'm just going to give you my opinion and the overall perspective of how I see deal and admin VAs in this episode. Now I'll go into more detail later in further episodes. So if you've got any anything you want me to cover, just drop it in the comment below, and on the next lot of episodes I will look to address it. So what we're going to start with is deal VAs, and again you can see onlinejobs.ph, because what I'm actually going to be doing is just giving you an overview of this and another way to actually get VAs. So now what's interesting is I have had, this is the story, I've had a sourcing VA a long time ago, and I needed to get involved and I needed to try it out, and I did. And then what I realized is it just wasn't for me at the time, because I was able to I don't mind looking for new deals. It's quite exciting, it's quite fun, but I don't really like the admin stuff, like just filling in Excel, the purchase sheet, little things like that. And so I now have 3 VAs. One does source, but the other 2 actually do more of the admin side. So then I can just focus on either looking to maximize the sales, because I don't have to go and spend all my time doing an admin, or I can focus on looking for new products, and that is it. Of course you can do other things as well, but everything else is taken care of. All my purchase sheets, recorded, everything to the prep centers recorded, even through to the accounting side of things, like reconciling the bank statement on, I use Xero, so on Xero. And my VAs do that for me, and they do like a million other things, like shipment reconciliations and blah 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 blah. I'll get into all that, in another episode. I'll actually break down what they do for me. But in this instance, that is what I decided. But some people might enjoy doing, all the accounting, and they want to do it all and make it beautiful. And some people might hate doing sourcing. Some people might, so that is where you've got to find your own balance, basically. And they don't have to be doing just one. You can do 50-50. You can hire a sourcing VA, but a bit of admin can be done, because an admin role is pretty, bog standard for most people. They can do it. And what's interesting is that you can go onto something like onlinejobs.ph, and I can't do it now because I haven't got. It costs about $50 a month, and within 1 month, or maybe a bit less, but within 1 month, you should be able to basically get someone full time or part time, whatever you're looking for. But I would say probably go for a full time. The only reason is if you don't go for a full time, they could be working for someone else, and then their energy isn't within you. It's spread. They may get a little bit like, oh well, if I lost this job, that one would take me on full time, and you just want them to be dedicated to what they're doing. And so yes, you can maybe find someone to share the costs. That's probably the best thing to do. So rather than getting someone part time, it's probably best to find someone else that will come in with you halves and split it that way. That way they still are, and then just put it through one person. You'll pay them half and half, but to them they're still employed full time from one thing, even though you are sharing. And I do that as well. I share because it's good to. Well, obviously at the beginning it's good to share because you're keeping your costs down, and if you do in theory need to expand, you're only for every one it's half price. So you can have a decent team of VAs costing you far less than it would, and they're still, they're still giving their all to what you're doing. And I found that's quite nice. Not that getting a full-time VA by yourself isn't great, but it's worked for me. So what you can do is you can go and post a job in here, and I'm not going to go through posting jobs or anything because I don't do that. No, I did originally do that many years ago, and I just found the quality was a bit hit and miss, and that's the problem. So you can pay, a little bit of money, and find someone, look through all the CVs, do some quizzes and have interviews, but it's very difficult to 100% know. If you've got a lot of time in your hands to train them up, then most probably will be good, as long as you pick the right person. And in terms of the cost, the wage, I paid 25,000 PHP, so you can kind of see on this example, it's not far different to that, and that's per month. So I guess it's like £580 a month per VA. Now that's because if you go any lower, it can be the quality and their dedication and commitment. It starts to just decline from anything below 25, and because 25 is about, it's not the minimum wage or anything, but it's just above. It's that kind of that living standards, yeah. So a lot of people think that's a nice wage, and they're happy to do it, and they're able to do what they want in life. So obviously anything less, it's like, well, they can pay the bills, but still, if they find something better, they might go. That's what you've got to actually sort of understand, and that seems to be a lot of the going rate for other places that are training them as well. That's what they suggest anyway. So you can go ahead and do that, and it might work out for you. But again, the cost is about $40-50. Or you can go onto something like Fast Track FBA, the VA Academy. Now, I personally have got 3 VAs through this. Now, you can go ahead, I'm not going to go into all the details here, you can go ahead and just break down everything that happens. Now, this is actually to source a sourcing VA. Now, this is the way that I've done it. So that's why I've led into this way. They get trained for about, a week? They get trained in-house through the Fast Track FBA team. And then what happens is they come to you when they get signed. So they get signed off at the end, and they come to you, obviously, then you start with them. And there is some safeguards, like, if they're crap within the first 2 weeks, you get a full refund to someone else. They try to hire someone else, and so on and so on. So there's like little healthy things that are added with it, because it costs money, obviously, to do that. You can see here, do I get a full refund? It says up to 2 weeks leaving, free rehire, so on and so on and so on. Yeah, so you get a little bit of protection. Obviously, it's going to cost a bit of money. The actual cost, just so I don't waste your time, is £600. And you might think, well, that's a lot of money. Yes, a lot of money, but that's only 1 month. 1 month of a full-time VA, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Well, okay, you can go ahead and spend $50, $60 for whatever it ends up being on that. I'm not sure. And it might take them 3 months just to get the hang of things. So you're paying them for 3 months. Yeah, you've not paid out, but you're paying, and then the quality is not that great. Maybe they don't turn up to work all the time, and then you have to let them go. And it's like then you got to come back on here and post another job, and it's like but with this, the way that I see it is that you get a standard. You get a standard. So yes, you're paying this, and they are getting. So not only that are they going to be picked based on like standards, as in, because it's not like they just pick random VAs. They have a pool of VAs that they go to, and they'll basically just pick the one that is looking the best. They interview them all. They have all their CVs and everything like that. Rather than you having to guess, like, if you've never done hiring before, how are you going to look at loads of CVs and kind of guess the correct which one's good? In a way, it's a bit of a needle in a haystack. You just got to either hope that you're good at identifying these people, but maybe you're not. And this is why I don't know what I'm doing with that. So I take it out of my own hands, give it to someone else, and so far I've not had any problems at all. Some of them have been far better. I even give them bonuses. Even though they don't ask for it, I'll just chuck another £100 their way, because I'm like, I would never, like, even I couldn't even do some of the stuff they do. And like, they're working extra hours, but because they're getting a decent wage as well, like I mentioned, at 25,000 PHP, Filipino pesos, they're willing to do a little bit more because they're not getting just minimum wage. And so there's a lot of things to factor in. And this is only a one-off cost, and then you know that you're getting a really decent standard of VA. Mine have been with me a year and a half, a year, and then 8 months, something. I got 3, so something like that. But One's built a whole new website for me. Others are like doing my accounting. Like someone, and I just hired them through being sourcing VAs, and they're doing my accounting because I built up stuff over time, and they're kind of tweaked to what I want them to do. And only one does sourcing. The other two know sourcing, and they know reverse sourcing, and they know all the things that I do. But I don't get them to do that because I don't focus them on that. So I find that what's great is because they basically will get trained up on all these things, and then they have like that foundation understanding to then take forward. So if they understand what the business is from the foundations, now they understand what the purchase sheet's for. So if I get them to do the purchase sheet, I know what an ASIN is, yeah, and it's literally just as easy as that. Start from the bottom, and then I get them to put it onto my prep sheet. But they understand that because they know that we're buying it from somewhere, and then sometimes it's shipped into somewhere else, and so on and so on and so on. And so they start to unravel that whole sort of process when they're doing tasks now for me. And what's quite nice is that you get some little perks as well. You get like some private group coaching, a fast track FBA work, but basically just extra like data and information for the VAs to make sure they're on track. They get checked up on. Obviously, I always start with them sourcing when I get them, just because I want to see what they can do. But then I slowly add in things. So I say, okay, well, now you're sourcing. When I make purchases of those products, can you please put it on the purchase sheet? And it's just adding that next step. They go, well, they know what they put on the sheet. They then see that. Oh, look, and now I get them to do everything from the purchasing all the way through to the accounting. And then I just basically do all the things that are a little bit more complicated based around that. So any unusual transactions that I've had to do ad hoc, or any kind of special requests that I've had to do, like as in I've had to do something different or move stuff around and it's a bit confusing, I can do that. But it's not a lot of it's not a lot of actions. And I just see this as almost like not a guarantee, because nothing's guaranteed, but like a foot in the door, fresh off the press. You know exactly what you're getting when you get notified that on the Monday in 2 weeks you're getting this VA, and you can go boom, okay. And then what I'll do, which is what I'll add into my future VA Academy, not VA Academy, my VA sort of mini series, is all of the tasks that I get my VA to do, as well as I created my own dedicated basically video guide tutorial, getting them to record themselves doing tasks, so that if I ever had to let one go or one had to leave, they can just pick it up. So it's all self-contained, it's self-processing, and then I can go, okay, Joanna, do you want to go and do that because someone's off, and they can go, I can't remember, and yeah, just jump onto the video guides that we've got and find it, and so on and so on and so on. And so, but that's taken a long time to build that up. And I find that now doing that, I don't have a lot of things going on each day. It doesn't mean things don't take a long time, but I'm able to sort of free up my mind to thinking a little bit more broad, and so not broad, a little bit more focused, rather than going, I've got to do that admin task quickly, it's 10 minutes there and there. To me, that's kind of like, it's just clouds your judgment over time. Got a million little tasks. Not only do they feel like boring and sort of just tedious, because they're just like, enter 3 super drug items here, and it's like, same again tomorrow. But and like I got another 300 mini transactions or mini action to do today. You can go, okay, well, let's record a YouTube video. Then I'll send that to Joanna. She's going to then put the intro in, and all I know is, okay, do the video, send it to her, get it back, get the thumbnail, upload, copy paste some tag. I know this is not to sourcing, but this is related to the admin. So I know I've only got a handful of tasks that relate into that whole process. I don't have to go and edit the video. I don't have to go and add like something else at the beginning of it. I don't have to go and cut stuff. So if you just wherever the sentence ends, that you see obviously just before I stopped it, but if we get rid of that last bit so that it flows, and then we can go from there. So I'm just going to pause it a second so I can remember where I was, and then I'll play, and then you can snip cut and edit and snip them together. So what I'm going to do now is just going to summarize pretty much the two and why I favor personally an admin assistant or an admin VA. And that's because I can pretty much most of the day-to-day tasks will be based around admin, data entry, analyzing as in like checking sales, how many have I sold, what's the profit. It's quite like putting it into something that I can look at, maybe going and doing like shipment reconciliations, going looking at feedback. They're like very it's the same shit, different day basically. And it's like, is it really that fun, enjoyable, doing all these menial tasks repetitively over a long period of time? Not really. And so the things that I like to focus on myself is periodically I might once a month go and look for some new deals. Maybe just doing some reverse sourcing. Maybe doing, I don't know, maybe I'll go and look at my old listings, for like half a day. Maybe I'll then look, I do have a VA that sources, and I'll go and like once a week have a look at that. But sometimes it won't be for a good couple of weeks because I'm not, well, right now it's probably because obviously it's the limits, but I'll go and do it as a bulk. So I'll look at all the Waitrose, all the Ocado, all the XYZ, because sometimes there's obviously a couple here and a couple there, and I like to build up an order as well. And that would be it. And then I'll focus on the sales side, doing, I do my profit and loss report based on my very specific way of doing it. That's why I don't get a VA to do it, but I could. And that might be something that I get someone trained up to do. It's just that I've been adding other things over time anyway. So, like I wanted more than anything to get rid of the accounting side of things, and so I'm happy to do every month do a little profit and loss myself. Because I want to know what's going on myself anyway. And it's, have I made any money, that kind of thing. But the accounting, I used to always leave it at the end, for the end of the year. But God, it just takes me like weeks and weeks just to go through all those transactions. And now I'm not getting that. So those things is priority. But then a sourcing VA, just while we run off, is good if that is the way that you run your business. For me, I don't really add a massive amount of new products to my sales, and the only type of new products that I might add are similar than what I'm already selling. So if I'm selling a 6-pack toffee flavour, and I've been selling it for 6 months, in 6 months time I'll be pivot a bit. Oh, you know what? Let's go and do like a reconciliation of all the stock that we're selling, and now let's look for similarities. Is there new versions? And that is the amount that you can find that through that method is always great. And if you can buy the toffee in abundance somewhere, you can probably get a couple of different varieties from that same wholesaler or from the same retailer, rather than it being a completely different, unique item where maybe it's like a retailer you've never used. So there's risks attributed to that, and maybe there's a limit. So I quite like the way I do it because it's very quick. You can add a lot of products, and you can also supercharge the understanding behind, that's how I'm selling a 6-pack toffee, selling it for 6 months, and I know the ranking, I know what it's best ranking, lowest ranking, blah, blah, blah. I can go ahead and go, okay, well, this one is basically the same, the graphs look the same, the product's pretty much the same, the prices, everything's matching. So therefore I can go and look at the sales of my old version, the old product, or the older product I'm selling, and probably go, okay, I know how many to be buying of this new product. So it just gives you that sort of upper hand that fast tracks a lot of things that take time to accrue, like data. How many, you buy a brand new product never sold, you don't know how many to buy. You test it out. You buy 10, you buy 20, you buy 5, and then it might go out of stock. But I'll obviously go with products that normally stay. So the way that I've built the business from the bottom up is really not really needing of a sourcing VA. Now I do have one because I like to make sure, if I can afford it, I like to make sure I'm maximising everything. And definitely over stuff like Q4, they're really good because you can go ahead and just get them to look at the obvious places for Christmas related products, and there's probably deals to be made. So not that they're particularly good all the time. I went with the assumption that, well, if I can afford it, let's get one, and that's why I share one with a colleague of mine. But they're not essential. But I find that admin VAs are, and what is a good thing that I like to do is I like to get my VAs trained up so that they can do it all. So if I want to go and migrate like the sourcing guy's skills, half of his time is now taken up doing something else. He has the library of recorded videos, like I mentioned. He can go and watch them, and then he can go and get trained up on something else. And so that they end up having a bit of flexibility within them, and they can sort of mold around something that's coming up. And that I find is the best thing. And just to finish it off, the way that I go about it is I kind of at the beginning say to them, you know what, I know that you've been recruited as a sourcing VA, and you can do some of that if you enjoy it and if you're good at it, more the merrier, because if you're really good at it, get some good products. But I'd also like you to take on some admin tasks related to those purchases, so that you get a full picture of the Amazon business in a way, so you understand how the full business works and how you can actually then go and, in theory, you could take that knowledge and train other people. You could go and, I don't know, go and start your own Amazon business if you wanted. Obviously, I know it's not as easy as that in some other countries, but that's the way, that's the mindset I want people to have, where they kind of understand the 360 picture, or at least a decent chunk of it, so that they're able to go, oh, I know why I do that. It's because that then does that. And I find that's good, because then you can also yo-yo people, go, oh, do you want to try some of this? Yeah, like the accounting. Well, once the VA got all the way up to pretty much the end, I was like, well, actually, now can you go onto the accounting? And when she sees a transaction that says, Thornton's 500 quid, she understands what that is. Oh, I know what that is. That's the purchases that I've been, doing or recording. And then she'll notice it's 20% on Thornton's, and she can, because it's not just a random task. Oh, what's that mean? And getting her to add all those segments together to build the full picture. And that, I find, so far so good, is working well. So I'm going to leave the video there. And yeah, I didn't go into extreme detail of all of it. I just wanted to give a good overview of deal leads or deal admin VAs. So deal and admin VAs, and just so that you get to see the way that I perceive them too. But also, I have they are the same because of the way that I've gone about it. My VAs can do it all. I just choose it to be 90%, pretty much, maybe 95% focused on the admin side, so that I can then just have a lot less tasks to do. And some of the enjoyment of finding some really good deals at Christmas. I love finding new deals at Christmas. Maybe not so much in the rest of the year, but that's something I like to do. If I can find something that's going to sell like 1,000 in a Christmas time, like, that's cool. I want to be hands-on then, because I'm also, you're going to be more responsive. There's only you and the click and you're done, rather than adding those extra layers. And yeah, and all my VAs have started as a deal VA. So if you want to know basically what this is, if you don't know, it is Fast Track. I'll leave a link in the description below anyway, so you can see it, and I'll leave a link to the online jobs.ph. You can basically come in, you can take a read. I've bought all 3 VAs from here. You can obviously just double check what happens and how it works. You can even book a free consultation, 30 minutes, basically just talk over what you want, and they can tailor it to you. So even if you say, I'm actually looking to tailor it to this, they're normally pretty good, but I have just got the normal basic sourcing VAs and tailored them after myself. And you get some really cool extras that you get, like workflows and videos to help train them up further later on. You got a training course, and you get like a private group and stuff. And it's $597, but it's a one-off cost, and then that the quality from then on is going to be good. Rather than paying $50 or whatever on the online jobs.ph. But then maybe you're going to have to sat them 2 months, and is that 2 months wasted of full-time wages, which is can cost you twice that amount. It's about the same, And so that's the way I see it, because it's more the long term. If you're not looking to have them for long term, then why are you getting them? And you probably shouldn't be getting one, or however many you want. And so this is just a small one-off cost, not monthly. And that's fine. And sometimes the best time to do it is after you've had maybe it's like Q4, you just had it, and you go and pay out a little bit as an investment, or you do it maybe one. I always say to people, try to get one VA if you can, because you can outsource all that admin and focus on the important, the stuff that you want to be doing, the stuff that's going to get the results. Then that's perfect. And also when you're away, if you can't do something, stuff's still running in the background. Gonna leave it there, everyone. Any comments, leave it in the comment section below, I guess I'll say. And if there's any suggestions for what you would like to see in the future videos for the admin or mini admin, and I guess you could say it's going to be general VA mini course, but it will obviously be focused on the admin side because that's what I've been doing. I'll touch on deals and the deal side as well, maybe in one session, because I do have a deal VA, sourcing VA, sorry. But most of it will be on the admin side, and obviously I'll explain why in further detail and go into it. So anyway, I'll wrap it up there, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye.